All right, let's talk about the hallmark of what I call a good to great teacher. And that is somebody that you can learn something from, period. So I don't mean somebody that's just academically trained, whether it be in science, in law, in math, or in music, which is what we're talking about in this case. So I guess the first element to me is that when you teach, you have to be able to communicate. It does not mean that you have to be this great orator. You don't have to be MLK or JFK, but you do need to get your thoughts across, and you need to get them across in a coherent manner. There are teachers that I've seen, because I have not studied a lot of music, but I have studied a lot in, let's just say, the academic sector. There are people who are all over the place, and so and it's their communication is just something that's very very challenging from that perspective. So that's the first thing. You need communication. After that, I think it's imperative that you have a methodology. Whatever it is, doesn't mean that I have to agree with it. That methodology could be I'm going to teach you, in the case of music, I'm going to use Hal Leonard, I'm going to use Mel Bay books. I am going to use, some type of pedagogy to teach you. Whether it be I'm going to work with you first on learning to read, then on technique and on repertoire. There has to be a set methodology. Again, a process. Okay, so there has to be process involved. So that's my first piece. Okay, after that, that process, you have to be willing, if you are a good teacher, to kind of migrate off of that, because you do have to make what I call modifications, or in the case of music, improvisations. So you got your process all set up. Not everybody you're teaching, you're talking to, is going to understand it the same way. You do have to have the skill of being able to change. There are some people who get it better this way. There are some people who are very technical. They need to see it laid out and written for them, or they're not going to get it. There are some people who are very visual from that perspective. You've got to have a combination of all of the different ways that people learn to get that. So you've got process and you've got the modification of the process. The other P is progress. There has to be measurable progress in the people that you're working with. All right. So it's not just a process and people coming in for a lesson and paying their hard earned money and you don't see any results out of that. There has to be progress. What do I mean by progress? Hey, how about learning a song for starters? Whether it be in my case, I'm learning that thing behind me called the cello, hot cross buns, French folk song. Being able to play things without looking at it, taking the stickers, or I should say, the fret marker things that you would put on the cellos off. There has to be progress that you're judging a student for. So you got a process that you can modify. You got the measurement of progress, and the last thing, and one of the most important things you have to have what I call the third P, which is the payoff. What's the payoff? Why do we all want to learn to play music? Songs, repertoire. I don't want to learn guitar so I can play scales up and down, or play arpeggios, or show you how fast I can finger pick and all that other stuff. I want to learn songs, man. Whether that be popular songs, jazz songs, technique is only an avenue, a means to help me play the songs. That's not the end game. The end game is really playing songs or creating my own style and really being able to play what I hear back off. That's my payoff at the end of the day. That's the beauty of the guitar. I don't care if you call it noodling, if I'm not playing a specific piece or anything like that. Or if I am playing, and it's Bach, I'm playing. You know, that's the payoff. The ability to actually play something. And as a guitar player, I wouldn't say I had arrived. I knew I had to pay off for me once I found fingerstyle playing. The reason being is that prior to that, I was always playing parts of songs because I needed a whole band. So I grew up playing, and all this other stuff, right? Tune your guitar too, by the way. So all of that stuff. So I was playing that, and that required people hearing other musicians play, or me say, okay, the drum comes here. This is when the solo goes like that. Once I heard I wouldn't just say classical. Once I heard that the guitar could be played as a polyphonic instrument, basically like a piano, and I could play a song from beginning to end with moving bass lines, with chords and things like that. I said, wow, now I've arrived. And I fell in love with it. Yeah, I still like my pick, and I still will play on that, but that's it. So, in any event, though, let's get back with the teaching. I do think I have a great teacher right now, and it's not a guitar teacher; it is a cellist, and really, and she has all of those skills. She has a process. She measures progress, and there is payoff. I mean, very, very, very organized way of teaching. That includes leveraging books because I do like books. I buy a lot of guitar books. Very, very well laid out. Lesson plans. This is my last lesson from last Sunday. My assignments, my C major scale, practicing détaché, practicing 7 of the pages we're working on, chromatic scales, target practice lines, and of course repertoire, O Come Little Children, right? So very, very organized with the books, 2-octave scales and bowings by Susan C. Brown, position pieces for cello. So she's got her own pedagogy and she's got her own process and organization. All right, and I bought in with that. And there are some things that I think she knows that she's got to change with me. I'm not your typical beginner cello in the sense that I didn't study cello music like that. I do have a little bit of musical knowledge. Yeah, she's got to work with me. I have a decent ear. So there's just some things that like she's going to work with me that's a little bit different than somebody else, for better or for worse. Let's just put it that way. So in any event, sorry for this long video. These are the types of things that I think are you should really look for when you're looking for a teacher. And yeah, I am more of an autodidact when it comes to guitar, but it is possible to find a really, really good teacher. But be careful, there are bad ones out there. And you don't want a guy or a woman just looking at their time and saying, got a half-hour lesson, 45-minute lesson. When's the next person coming in? You want somebody who loves what they're doing, who can actually work with you, and who has a specific style that measures, that has a process, progress, and the payoff part. All right, then, practice, practice, and practice some more.